Was good, Boulder, Colorado? Got a special treat for you today. Got a chance to chop it up with the national insider that's got some great intel when it comes to Colorado. Philip Dukes over at On 3. You may have seen him do some personal interviews with Coach Prime. He's also one of the cats that came out and talked about the big incident that went down at CBS. We've got a video on that coming up. But today, we dove into some recruiting updates that we want to pass along to you all. So thank y'all for pulling up here to the Primetime College Football. Stick around, grab a snack, and let's dive right into what's going on in recruiting. But also, he's got some great intel on the top target for Colorado, so you got to stick around for that a little bit later. But further ado, let's talk to Philip Dukes over there at On 3. What's good, Buffs Nation? We got a special treat for you all today. We got my guy Philip Dukes from over there on 3 at Dukes Scoop, right? Is that the handle on the bird?
Yeah, Dukes D Scoop.
Dukes D Scoop, that's what it is, yeah. Dude's one of the best recruiting insiders out there, man. Philip, I appreciate you pulling up and talking some Colorado ball with me today.
Man, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me, dog.
Heck yeah, man. All right, let's jump right into the meat and potatoes here, right? So, as we know, Colorado on the high school side of recruiting has been a little bit on the quietness, right? 7 recruits so far this season, and I know that you've had some good relationship and conversations with Coach Prime and the people over there in Colorado. How do you feel around their recruiting strategy there in Colorado and what they're looking to achieve with, I mean, having a small class right now? Do you see it also getting bigger later?
Yeah, I think it'll get bigger as the season goes on. You're going to see them. They've planted a lot of seeds as far as, and I think the on-field product is going to have a lot to do with how they recruit going forward. I think they're looking to have a big season. They're going to get guys to the experience that is Colorado, and I think it's important to do more recruiting in Colorado because that's especially when you recruit with a national imprint, when you're going to get guys from Georgia, D.C., Florida, you want to have guys to understand what it means to be a Buffalo in this era, and that it's a special type of culture where they want really, even though you see the glitz and the glamour that comes along with Coach Prime, it's really it's a blue-collar lunch pail environment, and that you have to kind of get used to, and it's very unique. So I think that when they do recruit, you see a small amount now because, one, they don't want everybody. They're not chasing stars. I had a really good talk with Coach Flea, and he was just saying how Coach Prime told the staff, like, hey, look, y'all don't have to chase all these 5 and 4 stars. Chase guys who can play football and want to do it our way. And I think that makes a huge difference when they're just as much interviewing guys. Like, when they recruit, it's almost like an interview, like, hey, is this the type of guy that we want? Is this the type of guy who fits our culture? And then when it comes to the transfer portal, when you look at guys who have documented production, it kind of gives you more information on how you can use that player. Are they ready for the college lifestyle? Can they come in and play today? When you don't have the luxury being a one-win team as recently as 2 years ago. You don't have the luxury of waiting for high school players to develop. You got to have guys that are ready to play now. So, and I liken it to like the music industry. The rap game years ago used to be you go to the hood or you go wherever, you go to the hottest clubs, go to the spots, you find the guy with the most talent, and you develop them, you bring them along, and you make them a star. Now, you want to see guys who are already stars, who already have social media followers, who are already selling out their own shows, and all you want to do is add fuel to that fire and make it bigger. Well, that's the same thing Colorado is doing. They're going to guys who may not have been in the best situation for them or who are in the transfer portal, who do have some documented production, who do have, like, quote-unquote, your first hot single already. And what they want to do is say, you come to Colorado and we're going to be that distribution company that makes you bigger than life. And I think that's been the approach that Colorado is taking, and we'll see how well it works this year.
Let's dive more into that. I like that point. Liken it to the rap game and how, you bring up those artists to have the one hit and then you get the distribution and whatnot. Colorado is doing it in a different way, right? Coach Prime and staff, as you mentioned, similar to what we're seeing like a Lane Kiffin do. And you also see this with new coaches when they go to these new programs. For example, Alabama, Kellen DeBoer's got 47 transfers that have come in, right? because they have the opportunity now to refuel their entire roster based upon their liking as they're taking over for somebody else. With Colorado and that strategy, right? Like we talked about this in the green room a little bit. One of the things that I'm recognizing is that what the beauty of the portals, and as you kind of mentioned a minute ago, when you bring in some of these kids, they already know what it's like to be at college. So they actually already know the grind, the time commitment, right? I think that's the one thing that most people don't recognize. The difference between high school and college is when you get to college, man, it's like class, business, business, business. And you going to bed at a certain time to wake up to do it all over again. It ain't the same. With Colorado's strategy of living more in the portal and some of these other teams doing the same, do you see that this is something that could be successful long term?
Yeah, absolutely. As long as the portal, as long as student athletes and players can transfer multiple times, the portal is going to be popping every year.
Yeah.
And twice a year, actually. You're going to have December portal, you're going to have spring portal. So you're going to have your choice of guys. I think that what the transfer portal is doing is pushing guys who may have been Power 5 guys, Power 4 guys previously. Now these guys are Group of 5 guys. And the Group of 5 guys who used to, be able to play at the Group of 5 level, but these guys are maybe FCS guys now. Mm-hmm. Because when you can get guys who are already in the portal who know, like we said, they have that experience. Like for example, if I had the opportunity to go, do I want a brain surgeon straight out of high school, or do I want one who's already studied for a little while? Well, it's my brain. I want somebody who has a little experience already. That's the same thing, and that's the same thing when it comes to your job as a college head coach. When you see guys come in and you want to backfill your roster, you want to have some type of touch point that you can go reference where you say, hey, how does this guy work in my system? Well, if you see a guy who has a great understanding of the route tree, catches the ball with his hands, say, offensive lineman who has good lower bend, and then sometimes you just want to get linemen with size who know what to do and who've been through a college nutrition program for a year already, and you don't have to spend that time developing their bodies. So I think all of those things play major factors when you talk about the transfer portal. I think Coach Sanders understands. He's like, look, we had to raise the total level of talent immediately. I don't have time. The spotlight is going to be wherever he goes. There was nothing. He did everything. He had to do what he did at Jackson State. He didn't have years to win 11, 12 games and make the Celebration Bowl. He didn't have years to do that. There wasn't a timetable for development. That was expected right then at that level. He had to come in and win and make a 3-win improvement in year one. And there's still all of the detractors who forget that this was a 1-win team. So now is you got to make that jump. You got to have guys. Last year, what we saw with Colorado, you didn't see the depth that was needed. So when one particular player got hurt, you saw it right there. You felt it. I mean, the guy from Colorado State, I say this ad nauseum, but the guy from Colorado State is probably still second to quarterback right now. Literally, when you have injuries at certain positions, you see it so clearly and so vividly when you don't have that type of depth. So I think that's what Coach Prime and the Colorado staff as a whole wanted to build was the talent level across the board with the team, from the DBs. Like you have to have 3 good DBs. You have to, as far as cornerback, you need 3 starters just to start. They had 2. And after your starters, you need 7 that can play. Well, they may have had 4. So at this point, now you're starting to see it stretch out where you're having battles. Like for the number 2 cornerback, there's a battle. Number 3 spot, there's a battle. You don't just want the battle to only be for the starter position. And I think that's what you saw going on in Colorado previously. And through the help of the transfer portal, they've been able to raise that level of talent.
That's a good point. And so let's transition back over to the high school side. There's a couple of good players in here, man. It jumped out to me, man, from like a Quanell Farrakhan Jr. to Alex Graham. And I remember when Quanell had committed, one of the things that got his attention about Colorado was the opportunity to play both sides of the ball. Prime, when he came in, he kind of mentioned that he liked what Travis Hunter's doing. Prime kind of mentioned to him that he can have that opportunity. And I believe there's actually somebody in camp right now that's looking at potential. He has the gray jersey as well. being able to play both sides of the ball. What do you think about these couple of players that recently came through in commitments from Quanell, as well as like an Alex Graham? How do you feel about them in the class and how they'll fit for Colorado?
Yeah, I think they're both two guys who really wanted to be at Colorado, which I think is more important than anything. They're both guys that you beat people for. Both guys that they're 4-star quality talent. Alex Graham is an SEC player. I think we put that label on guys in high school. Say, hey, is this guy a college player? But is he an SEC player? And we get a lot of that as far as in the Southeast. And now Oklahoma, you're going to see a lot of that now. It's like, well, is he SEC? And Alex Graham is SEC. He's one of those guys playing some of the best high school football you can play at IMG Academy. When you look at the length that he has, also his short area bursts where he's able to get in and out of his back pedal really smoothly. Those are the footwork is what allows you to play both sides of the ball. And when you think about a guy who even thinks about playing both sides of the ball, you know that the ball skills are going to be there. So defensively, we're not just batting the ball down. You're taking the ball away. I think that's really important. And when you have a coach like Deion Sanders, like who else would you want to learn from when it comes to conserving your energy, understanding when to go 100 and when to go 90, understanding how much homework you have to do to conserve your energy. Mm-hmm. When you know a player's not coming your way, then and I know they say 100% of the time you got to go hard. Well, there'll be times that you'll be able to know what's coming your way, and you know when you got to get on that horse and ride out because you've done the homework. And I think that's something that people don't talk about enough when it comes to playing two ways. It's not just about can you play two ways. Everybody can catch a ball and everybody can run. Do you have an understanding of how to play the position on both sides? Do you have the time and the capacity to take in the nuances of being a wide receiver? Are you an X? Are you a Z? Or like where are you playing? Are you on the line? Are you off? When you get disalignment, what's the call? Do you need a wrist bracelet? Those are the type things, a wrist call sheet, like those are the type things that go into being a two-way player. So when Coach Prime, probably one of the top two, if not the best athlete of all time when it comes to playing multiple sports, him or Bo Jackson, take your pick. Yeah. Who else would you want to learn from? And I think that was a major draw for Alex Graham. And then and for Quanell Franklin, he's a guy who's really, really competitive. I think he's more of one of those sure-handed receivers. He does have some explosion to his game, but he's one of those guys that if you need a big first down on third down, he's the guy who can go and get you that 3rd and 8. He can get you that 3rd and 9. He understands how to sit in pockets, which I think is a part of the game that a lot of high school receivers struggle with, is being able to read coverages and sit down, like understanding, okay, how do I get open against the cover 3? Okay, well, they're looking for the deep out. How do I make my deep out look like a fly so I can come back and get the ball on a 16-yard out? Like, those are the type of things that allow different receivers to separate college receivers from high school receivers. He's a guy who's going to come in, polish, and be ready to play. And I think that's a lot of this high school class. Even when you look at a guy like Montrez Walker out of Buford, Georgia, the linebacker, he's a guy who was previously committed to Michigan, has played a lot of football, played in the best leagues, played with Julian Lewis previously before on the little league circuit in Atlanta. He's a guy who's just a through and through football player, a classic Mike linebacker who has some range and has some mobility. But when you talk about just coming downhill and laying a thud, that's the type of guy that you want to come in and help your run defense, which last year was very porous for the Buffaloes. So now you're starting to build it up the right way where you have run stopping ability on the second level. So when you think about the guys, yes, it's a small class, but it's a very talented class. And it's one of those classes that you pick your spots and you say, I need a guy like this, I need a guy like this. So maybe you get 10 to 12 guys from high school, then you get another 12 from the portal, and now you got 20, and now you're bringing in 24 new bodies who have various ranges of experience and abilities that you can put together and make your own sort of gumbo.
Oh, I like that. I like that. We're talking with Philip Dukes over there from On 3 with the 5-Star Flex show. I know that show is starting to really ramp up, man. We appreciate you pulling up. Let's dive into that. Juju Lewis, right? We know that he's the prize, the crown jewel potentially of a couple of classes, right? Between USC, Colorado, Indiana now it sounds like. What's your feel right now when it comes to Juju and what he's thinking about doing?
I think Colorado had a lot of momentum as recently as a few weeks ago. I think this is going to be one of those things that probably comes down to signing day. I didn't think that Juju would make it into the season without changing, but I think he made a statement without making a statement that he didn't flip before the season. His head coach, Joey King, was rumored to say that he wanted his recruitment to be done before the start of the season. I don't think it's done. I think Colorado still sits in a good spot. I think Indiana has made strides because they want to make a splash. When you think about his relationship with Tino Sancier, dating back to his time at Alabama as an analyst, when he was a guy who was one of the first to identify Julian Lewis as a plus or elite talent. That relationship has gone a long time. You see Lincoln Riley kind of really pick back up the pursuit, trying to get a public recommitment, more of a, hey, just letting you guys know I'm choosing USC. And that really hasn't happened. When you saw Julian play on ESPN last week, he did say that he was still currently committed to USC. But I just think Colorado's just laying in the weeds watching. And when you see, I think that the Colorado staff is really focusing on putting their recruit. They know recruiting is important, but they want to put out a good product to show proof of concept to recruits. Because just think about this, all the media coverage Colorado gets as a 4-win team, imagine an 8-win Colorado and how that looks media-wise and how that looks as far as the community, how the games would look. And so now that brings in a totally different level of guys. And if you think that Coach Prime is the type of guy who wants to win 8-9 games and go backwards, you're sadly mistaken. Colorado is going to be very active in the portal, and they're not going to play second fiddle to anybody. So I think but with the case of Julian Lewis, I think it's still anybody's ball game at this point, but Colorado is still squarely in it.
I like hearing that. So the Buffs are still pursuing this top player because, of course, once Shadour's gone, you kind of need another you need kind of another star to really be underneath, Coach Prime's wing, especially like you said, with the media coverage that the Buffs are getting because of Prime and everybody coming there. At 4 wins, 8 wins is going to be nasty, and I think they got a chance. We'll talk about your expectations for the team this season in just a bit. And so we appreciate you coming to join us. This is Philip Dukes over there at On 3. He's got the 5-star flex at the first official show this week, and you're going to be doing. Is that going to be a weekly show? How is that going to be ran?
I'm just doing them, man. Like, I did one, I got another one dropping today. Like, so when they gave me the green, like, it was like, Dukes, we want 30 minutes from here on out. Like, don't scare me with a good time. I'm ready. Been ready. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. Welcome to the game. Welcome over there on 3. I know you started at the beginning of the year, man, but we appreciate you pulling up here on Primetime College Football.
No, for sure, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate it so much, big dog.